All right, it is 7 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Henry and a second by Councilmember Mock. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Community comment. This is the opportunity to speak about anything that is not on tonight's agenda. It looks like you guys are all here for something that is on the agenda. So we'll just move through that real quickly. Up first, under presentations and reports, we have Tom Ryan recognition with the fire department. Chief Trimble.
Stand up here.
Go into
so
the-
people can hear you.
Yeah.
Whoever can watch.
Tonight, we're here to recognize Tom Ryan for his 20 years on the Carver Fire Department. Tom was committed to making the community better and a safer place to live for all the residents. Whether it was responding to calls, mostly on four wheels, heading the right direction, attending our ongoing Monday night trainings, or helping with community events such as Steamboat Days and the open house. Tom was always a staple at the fire booth, trying to recruit new members. He always gave back to the community. While his time in the bunker gear is over, his impressions and memories will remain. We are proud to call you the brother. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. So I'll ask Tom, I'm not familiar with the story of responding not on four wheels. Is that something we can talk about here, or do we have to connect later?
I rolled a truck
Oh,
on the way to a...
oh shoot.
It was his own... I mean, it wasn't my fault.
Okay.
And I wasn't the first responding truck, he did say, keep going.
They stopped at me and I'm like, I'm not the accident.
Oh, shoot.
A lot of nails spread everywhere. There's probably still screws in that.
Well, I thank you so much. 20 years is a long time, and we appreciate your service and your commitment to the city of Carver. Anybody else has any thoughts?
Big accomplishment.
All right. With that, Tom, we've got a plaque, and we'd love to get a picture with you if we can.
Okay.
We got you.
Why are you standing in the center? We'll let the twins stand on the other side.
Sam.
Callie, you want to get in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Callie.
Fill that gap. Scoot, good job. Scoot. Very good. Any others? Good? Okay.
We got
We
that
can
picture.
Okay.
Are you sure?
Wait, you guys aren't staying for the MS4 presentation?
And they are departed. Would love to.
Big night.
Run while you can.
You're not sticking around for the fireman's report? This is when we allocate money.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Kelly, should we bump you up so you can go to wherever they're headed? Are you cool with that? Commissioner Fahey, I'm sorry.
Totally fine.
Okay. All right. So we'll just skip real quick to 5.3, the fire department update. Chief Trimble.
Hi, thanks for having me, Council and Mayor. Just want to give you a brief update on what's going on in the current fire department. Just the big question, has there been any issues with Jonathan Carver Parkway? There hasn't been. We've been able to get up there in a timely manner. Haven't really had to use Chaska a whole lot. There's just been one car accident up by Levi Griffin, so that's good. We are busy. Our call percentage, we're up about 72% over last year.
Oh my gosh.
So we surpassed last year's number already. From January to July, we ran 171 calls this year. All of last year, we ran 172 calls.
Wow.
So the big question is, where are those calls coming from? And it's not one thing in particular. We actually we thought, well, maybe it's medical calls. Medical calls as a percentage is actually down a little bit. So it's just across the board, everything is up. Fires, PIs, that kind of thing. And that includes mutual aid to other cities, things like that. So it's not one thing in particular. The team has been doing an amazing job handling the increase of calls. We're still getting trucks out in a timely manner and getting crews to every call. So, any questions regarding that? If not, we'll move on. We are working on a property at 13610 Jonathan Carver Parkway that we plan on burning later this fall. This will be a great opportunity for the fire department to practice in like a real live house scenario. So that'll be coming up. It was originally planned for this weekend, but because of medical crew not being able to be there, we're gonna have to look at planning it later on this fall. And then I'd just like to plug our open house is October 5th. We hope you all can attend, or at least some of you. And then we do have four open spots on the department. We're hoping to get offer letters sent out this week. So, any questions?
I have a question. Do you need help igniting that house that you're gonna start on fire?
Well, Glenn, we got protocol for that.
Your budget's when?
Yeah. Come on up.
Okay.
Any other?
Chief Trumper, you mentioned 4 new firefighters that offer letters going out. How did recruitment go? Are you still getting a lot of interest?
Well, we actually had 18 people apply for the
Wow.
4 open
And
spots.
Is that a lot? Is that average?
That was more than we had in years past. So that's good. I think better than a lot of communities around us. So.
And I know there's always sorry, I'm really hoarse tonight. I know there's always it's harder to get folks who have daytime availability. Is that easing up a little bit with folks working from home?
No, I'd say this latest round of recruits, we kind of got a gift with COVID, being people could respond a lot more during the day working from home. Mm-hmm. A lot of those people are going back into the office now, or at least going partial back into the office.
Okay.
So the new recruits, I think a couple of them have daytime availabilities, but a couple other, maybe work for themselves, so they might be at home during the day or might not.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah. You said calls are up, and you've had more calls so far this year than you've had all of last year for the most part. You think that's mostly population, or is it? What do you personally attribute it to?
It's population growth. It's a little bit of a change in fire district. How other departments, they're calling more mutual aid quicker to get out the door, or to handle the situation faster and safer. And then, Carver Ridge adds 3 to 4 calls a month. So, that alone is 30 to 40 calls a year just on top of that. So.
Do you need anything from the council? I mean, equipment, anything like that?
No, I think we just got done going through the budget process. I think we're looking all right.
Okay. You need anything, just, where we're at. Thanks, Callie.
Thanks.
Question on the building that you're burning. What is that building?
It's a house.
It's a house, but it's empty.
Correct. So it's got to be all cleaned out. We only can
Okay.
burn clean, like pallets and
Oh, okay.
non-hazardous wood type
Materials,
materials
yeah.
inside it.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
we fire departments that can only burn actual houses. If it was like a barn or a shed, the DNR doesn't allow us
Oh,
to do that.
interesting. Okay. All right.
Nothing from you?
That's all I got.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Appreciate
time.
the update.
Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you, Callie.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, 5.2, Commissioner Fahey with the Carver County update. Thank you for letting me bump you back a notch here in the
No
agenda.
problem.
I appreciate it. I am
Mayor
sure that we
Johnson.
are getting together to celebrate Tom.
No, and that was exciting. I just had an ice cream cone. I thought that was exciting. But the ice cream was very tasty, and it's good to be here face to face. And to Aaron, I'll introduce myself to you. I don't think we've met. Brent, we've met before. And Joy, I don't think we've met before.
Maybe not.
Maybe
so
not.
I've been on the council for going on 3 years now, I think. I feel like. Something like that. So somewhat newer to the council, yes.
Well, great. And then Courtney and Christy and Glenn, I know. And Aaron, I don't think we've met before. And Dave, nice to meet you. Well, Highway 212, it's progressing like clockwork. We're very excited. We've had minimal traffic disruptions, and we're about 31% complete as the end of July. It's been it's been a great summer for road construction, but not so good for.
Maybe they're just saying goodbye.
They are.
They might be a salute, but not so good for growing crops, and corn and the soybeans are struggling. But the second phase, the Cologne to NYA, we've reached the full funding status. We received the final piece coming from the state in the form of the $25 million in the trunk highway bonds. And we hope to start that project in probably 23, 24. We're going to start letting out the bids probably late 22 is my understanding, and maybe into 23. So being an NYA resident, I am just really surprised that that's going to happen. And it's exciting to see that all come together and have that be a 4-lane all the way through NYA and beyond as it is now. So we continue, though, to apply and lobby for additional federal funding for 212, which would reduce the county's contribution from the sales tax fund and allow us to move those dollars to other projects. We've learned that having the seed money at the county level for road construction projects really helps us to secure the state and federal funding. So that is working very, very well, that sales tax that the county put in place a few years ago. U.S. House Rep Tom Emmer was in Carver County last Wednesday. I did meet with him personally, and we provided a tour of 212. It was just a great meeting, and we continue to ask for his support in funding all projects in Carver County. The census information is slowly being released. As you know, Carver County is the fastest growing county in the state, and Minnesota has gained more than 17% in population since 2010. So the redistricting is beginning. So when those numbers are available, the county will send out the newly drawn state and congressional redistricting plans to the cities and the townships. They have 60 days to redraw their precinct boundaries and their polling locations. When this is complete, the new commissioner districts will be established within 20 days. So roughly some dates that they've shared with us, the state boundaries must be drawn by February 15th of 22, and then the municipal and the townships must be done by mid-April, and then the commissioner districts will be wrapped up probably the end of April, first part of May. And I know Mr. Emmer stopped in here, and how did that conversation go about the levy?
It went good. He was really supportive. We walked to the levee and we were able to show him he hadn't necessarily been physically on top of the levee to
good.
see. There are certain challenges in talking about floods during a year of historic drought, but he was good and supportive and said everything I needed to hear. I don't know if you had.
I don't have a lot to add, but yeah, it was a nice talk. We gave him a lot of information that he may not have specifically known or physically known by actually, like you said, being on the levee and seeing it, and again trying to convince them during a flood or a drought year that it floods a lot. But there's some nice pointers out there that we could show him of water levels and things like that, so you can get a really hands-on view of how treacherous it could be if we did not have a levee or if the levee was to fail. So I thought it was good.
Great. And finally, the Carver County Fair was a huge success. I talked to the lady that was in charge of the finances, and by Saturday, they've already had more revenue than the 2018 fair and then also the 2019 fair.
Nice.
And Sunday, the weather just cooperated.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to Steamboat Days and participating in the parade, and hopefully, Christy, I can get in some volunteer shifts and just help out. Last time I was here was in April, and I sent that out to you, Courtney. If you need anything, or Brent, if you need any updates, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I'm available to come to any and all the meetings if you want to see me here.
Super. We appreciate the updates and the cadence that you're using and providing them. So thank you for coming. It's good to get some face time. Yeah.
I just wanted to share with the commissioner that Shelby Savell with County Highway has been managing the Jonathan Carver Parkway or 11 project and has been doing a fantastic job, really great to work with. So I just wanted to pass along that to you and your team.
I will pass that on, Brent. Thank you. I know Shelby. He's a great young man. Good to have him on staff.
Any questions, comments for the commissioner? All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Thank you.
stopping by, John.
Nice seeing you.
All right, that brings us to 5.4, the Jonathan Carver Parkway construction update. Aaron, what's new this week?
Yeah, lots of stuff new this
Countdown
week.
to reopening.
We'll get to that shortly.
Okay.
Don't steal his thunder.
Put a clock out.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, Jonathan Carver Parkway, as you know, we're still residing in stage 2, full closure period, but we're quickly approaching the end of that. So that's the good news for tonight. So hopefully the next time I talk to you in 2 weeks, we'll be in stage 3. That's the goal. So stage 2, nearing completion. The plan is at this point, Friday, the 27th of August is the date that stage 2 will end, opening Jonathan Carver Parkway and 6th Street, Belgrade Road to traffic again.
27th or the 28th?
Friday the 27th, probably hopefully the morning of the 27th at some point at this time. So
Aaron, if you're a betting individual, how much money would you put down on that?
they've been doing a pretty good job. I feel pretty good about that date.
Aaron, you didn't answer my question. Is this a $10 bet? Is this a $100 bet?
It's better than $10.
Or the house.
Yeah, for sure. No, they're doing a good job. Eureka's doing great. As Brent said, Shelby's doing a great job. So things seem to be coming together quite nicely. It doesn't feel to me like it's going to be a huge rush to make that happen.
Okay.
So over the next week here, there's going to be a lot of things falling into place. Signing's going to be going up, striping's going to be happening, some restoration work. So by the 27th, hopefully, those type 3 barricades will be pulled. So if all goes well, that'll be the case. We'll be moving into stage 3 at that point, the last stage of the project, and that's going to be they're going to be primarily working on some work in the corridor, so maybe some median work. There is going to be some work going southbound on Jonathan Carver Parkway, south of the fire station, public services. There's some roadway work and utility work to happen there. So what you're going to see at that time initially is what we call a crossover. So if you go southbound through the roundabout, going towards public services, you'll actually cross over. They're going to leave a gap in the median and divert southbound traffic to because there's 2 northbound lanes after the project's done, so you'll be able to run 2-way traffic on the eastern lanes of the highway, if that makes sense. So that'll give them the room they need to finish that last piece of road on the very south end of the job. So that's kind of the main update. I did want to mention last time, Mayor, you asked about the trails. The core trail system will be in place for start of school. There's going to be one segment, I believe, by the dental office that they have to finish yet, but the majority of the other trails will be open is the plan. So.
Okay.
So I have a question as we're getting closer to Steamboat Days here. Are we going to be fully open on that road then, even with the traffic or the lane south of the roundabout?
With the crossover you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's full access, so it's just a matter of where is traffic going to be on the lanes that are now available and paved. So yeah, it'll be open,
Okay.
so. Yeah, yep, I'll get to that. Just here's a few pictures too. This is looking south. As you see, the roundabout is pretty much constructed at this point. Pavement's down. This is looking up the hill, going north from the roundabout. And then here's a couple pictures of the splitter islands as you approach the roundabout. This is looking really neat. This is that kind of river look with the stamped colored concrete. The stuff with the plastic is the plain concrete, I believe, so it'll look a lot better when the plastic's off, but that's coming together quite nicely, so. And then here's just looking north at Ironwood School, said some median work, so. Brent asked me to speak on the street lighting tonight a little bit. I think we might have mentioned at the last meeting that the lighting that was ordered for the project was a typical highway, we call the Cobra head lights. That isn't what the city wanted or communicated, so it was just a matter of something that simply got, the plans were put together at the end. So we will get what we want. We'll get the decorative lighting. It's just a matter of timing at this. So in order to open the road, we need to have lighting at the roundabout. That's a requirement for safety reasons. So those lights will stay up at the roundabout as they're installed today. The contractor will be ordering the new lights for the rest of the corridor, in which time they'll also take the Cobra heads down and put the decorative lights up as well.
Will be ordering, or they've ordered them?
That's a good question. I'm not sure exactly the timing to that, but everybody knows what the city's position is, and I can't answer if he's actually ordered them yet or not.
Okay.
So, and that's at no additional cost to us to have the decorative lightings we had originally. I mean, we're not paying to take these Cobra heads out. We're not paying for them, paying to take them out and then paying to put the lights we want back in, right?
Yeah. So what would be fair is the city will pay the additional cost in the materials because that's what we wanted to start.
Okay.
So the bid that was received was for the lower priced lights. The decorative fixtures cost more money, so
Okay.
we would be paying the material cost difference, which is fair.
Okay, so will that be coming out of the contingency then, or is that gonna set us over?
Yep, that'll come out of contingency right now. We're tracking contingency on the project. We're still sitting really well with the overall contingency, so no concerns on that front
Okay.
from us.
I do foresee people having comments about, well, they put in these lights, now they're taking them out and putting these other lights in. Maybe we wanna think about what our communication might look like if we start to hear some of that.
It's a great comment.
Aaron, so all of the lights, like that I see in this picture, those will be replaced?
No, I think those ones, Mayor, are from the actual signal poles. Those might be the signal poles.
Yeah.
So those are gonna stay. Those are
Okay.
typical. What's that? Oh,
But those will change.
The one on
yeah,
the-
those
okay.
these ones will change right here.
Okay,
The ones on the signal system, that's standard lighting.
Okay.
Those aren't gonna change, but
okay, but these
the regular
will look more
lighting.
like what's down Monroe.
Yep,
Okay, great.
look just like that, so. Anything
Any
else?
questions, comments?
And then stage 3 completion is still planned for November?
Yeah, can't remember. It said November. It's almost September, so you'll be pushing right up in November,
Okay.
but yeah.
Aaron, maybe just one more question, sorry, just so that we're all clear, stage 3,
Mm-hmm.
with the exception of the crossover area, it will kind of ebb and flow as to what's open and when there's one lane open, when there's 2 lanes open,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yeah, just as they are finishing work, in a particular area of the corridor, they'll have to do a lane closure they're gonna do the seating in the boulevard this day, so they're gonna have to close the outside through lane. So they'll shift everybody to the inside, and the next day they're gonna do some landscape plantings in the median, so they're gonna shift people to the outside lane that day. So the corridor is just gonna have full access, but you'll just have to go with which way the barrels tell you to go.
Okay, And will we be able to kind of guide those temporary closures so that they, if at all possible, don't take place during the kind of morning school and afternoon school rush hours, if you will?
Typically in the past, I don't know that anything's specified in the contract that says it has to be off-peak hours, so like 9 to 3. I'd have to look into that. If there isn't anything in there stating that they had to do it off-peak, we'd have a hard time telling them they could only do it in that range without any cost implications to it. So we can definitely work with Eureka and try to be cognizant of that. Like the things that are along Ironwood. They were pretty adaptable to when they did that work, until school is out. So we'll see what we can do, but I'd have to look into contract language to see what would actually be specified.
Okay,
for
whatever
that.
we could do. I still have heartburn from last spring and kind of the headaches that that whole area caused for congestion and for the school staff up there. So if there's anything that we can do to gently coax them to do the right thing and maybe not close down a lane or two during those peak rush hours, that would be great.
I should have mentioned the school entrance. I believe that paving was done today or it's going to be done tomorrow, so that's a good thing.
Good.
The concrete apron that was done over the last couple weeks, and they were going to pave the remaining intersection work either today or tomorrow. So that's a good thing. Be done.
Great. If there aren't any other questions, yeah, go ahead.
No. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't.
I know that for
Looks fine. That's okay. Sorry.
Just one item, since it's kind of resonated through different meetings, but our intention would be to remove the speed bumps throughout the community to coincide with the opening of Jonathan Carver Parkway, so.
I'm sorry, Brett, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because that was such a mom. Like, I said no.
Okay, I think many people are gonna be
I'm gonna miss them.
looking forward to that, yeah, but I think
You're
we'll be
looking for a
surprised
spot
at
for
how
'em.
many people we hear from who will wanna make them permanent. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 6.1, public hearing for the special assessment at 715 Kirchy Hill Drive. So, we will go ahead and open the public hearing. Josh, you have the floor, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Madam Mayor, members of council. The city has recently completed a reconstruction project within the Kirsch Hill Drive, Dietrich Drive neighborhood. As part of that project, the city installed municipal sewer and water to the whole neighborhood, which currently or previously didn't have that. So the current residents had their private septic and wells that they were utilizing at that time. As part of the project, it is city policy that each property owner connects to the municipal sewer and water when it's available. So at that time it became available, and each individual homeowner kind of started making plans to connect to this city sewer and water. Assessment options were given to each property owner to be able to kind of alleviate some of the costs or extend some of the costs, which we gave them 3 different options to roll different amounts of the cost to do this into the assessment roll, which would allow them to pay for it over time or over 20 years. So we handed those options out. The property that we're speaking about tonight did return the questionnaire with signifying that they just wanted to assess the street portion of the assessment, kind of moving forward into when they actually were going to physically complete the work. They did ask us staff if they could change their election and actually add one of the 3 components to their assessment. We were able to accommodate that. We did complete a supplemental assessment agreement, which they subsequently signed, and is also signed by the city. So this would add one of the fees or the utility fees to their assessment, thereby increasing the assessment, which required the public hearing tonight as well. So the supplemental assessment agreement has been signed, as I mentioned. We've created a supplemental assessment roll, which you have in front of you tonight. There's this hearing. The next steps will be to have this hearing and then to adopt the supplemental assessment roll. After that, if it is adopted tonight, then that assessment roll or the supplemental assessment roll will be filed at the county, and it'll go on their 2022 tax roll. So, and then they're on forward for 20 years thereafter. So that, in a nutshell, is where we're at with that process.
All right. Thank you. Are there any public comments? After all public comments are received, if any, the public hearing will be closed and no further comments on this issue will be received at this meeting. So if there are any public comments, this would be an opportunity to do so. But unless Commissioner Fahey has any public comments, I'm anticipating that we have none. So can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
A motion by Councilmember Henry and a second by Councilmember McKnight. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Council, any additional comments or questions?
No. Pretty clear.
Does this pass all the mustard with the legal department?
Yes, I had a chance to connect with staff late last week about it. And
Okay.
we're in good shape. Yep.
Okay, and so the tax rolls will all be correct?
Yep, yep. So
You said-
after this supplement assessment roll is passed tonight, then that gets forwarded on to the county, and then they take it from there and include it with your tax roll.
Okay. So are we gonna see anything more? Because you said it adds one more roll to that particular address. Is there something that they're not being assessed for right now?
The other component of it, they paid for out of pocket. So
Perfect.
we won't
Thank
see
you.
that.
Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 136-21, adopting the supplemental assessment roll.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Mock and a second by Councilmember McKnight. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Let's see. All right. Now this is what Commissioner Fahey is staying for. Up next on the agenda, we have item 6.2, the MS4 Stormwater Pollution Prevention Program, the SWPP.
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt, have at it.
Pins and needles.
So excited.
You forgot a P.
Oh, shoot. SW-triple-P. There you go.
So am I giving the presentation first, and then we're going to open the public
Sorry,
hearing?
we'll
or-
open the public hearing right now, and you can go ahead and do your presentation. Thank
Okay,
you.
yep, you're welcome.
Just got so excited.
I know, me too. So this is the
It's outstanding.
this is the 2021 annual stormwater meeting. Requirement of the municipal separate storm sewer system permit, or what we're going to refer to tonight as the MS4 permit. Okay. So the purpose of the annual meeting, number one, like I said, it's a requirement, but this meeting does a number of things. First of all, it informs the public. The impacts the stormwater discharges have on our water resources, so it's important that the public knows about what sediment can do downstream if it's deposited into the waters, and also actions that residents can take to help minimize that, right? The second purpose of this meeting is to receive input from the public, so anybody that would choose to come tonight to voice their opinion about how the city operates their system, they're welcome to do that tonight. So obviously nobody's here, so they must think that Chad's doing a great job. So that's all good there. And lastly, I just wanted to use this as an opportunity also just to provide a quick update on the city's status with the MS4 permit itself. So what is an MS4? As I mentioned, basically the city operates this entire stormwater system, right? So everything that drains into our catch basins, our storm sewer system, our ditches, we operate and control that. And The Clean Water Act, which was a federal act, that mandated that government units having this jurisdiction have to have something in place, and that trickled down through to the states. So the EPA is the overall, governing authority at the federal level. The MPCA, they manage the program at the state level. So we report to the MPCA for this MS4 permit. So that's designated under Minnesota Rules Chapter 7090. It says that all cities in an urbanized area have to have this permit. Okay, and the city of Carver meets this requirement, or meets they're designated as an urbanized area, so that's why we have to do this. Originally authorized in 2006, that was the first year we were in the program. And currently, as I mentioned, we're implementing this permit and all the best management practices that we outline within it. So what is a SWIP? That's the second acronym tonight. So SWIP is Stormwater Pollution Prevention Program. That is a requirement within this overall MS4 permit. So that's just one part of it. And what that does is that describes how the city of Carver is going to implement this pollution control for the local water resources. So it includes a number of things. Number one, it has some regulatory mechanisms to it. Talks about educational programs. How are we going to get the word out to the residents? Obviously, inspection and maintenance is a big part of the program, and then documentation. We need to send a report into the MPCA every year, which we've done already this year in April. So commitments to the MPCA. The SWIP requirement is these 6 control measures, they call it. Number one, public education and outreach. So that's teaching the public about the water resources and what pollution is to our waters and what causes it, right? Public participation and involvement is the second one. So how do we engage the public? And there can be events we put on. We do some stuff with the CCWMO. That's how we get them to participate in this overall program. Illicit discharge detection. So that's, for example, if somebody would dump gasoline or oil down a catch basin, that's an example of illicit discharge. Okay. Construction site stormwater runoff. That's a big thing in Carver with all the development that happens. So you see all the silt fence that's around the perimeter of the sites that captures the sediment before it leaves and gets to Spring Creek or the Minnesota River. Post-construction stormwater management. This sets up the rules for how do we manage water with construction projects and the rules for rate, volume, water quality. So after construction, we're not negatively impacting the environment because of additional flow rate or something like that. So that's what that piece talks about. And then 6 is kind of just a catch-all, like good housekeeping for municipal operations. So that's, for example, Chad has street sweeping in his plan on a yearly basis. So things like that, covering salt piles, that kind of stuff. That's all an example of good housekeeping. So program highlights in 2020, the city completed inspection of 1/5 of its stormwater ponds and outfalls, which is a requirement of the permit. So every 5 years we'll inspect all of our ponds. Chad inspects 1/5 of them on a yearly basis, so we kind of have a 5-year cycle to look at all of them. And then in addition to that, we inspect all the structural BMPs. And what structural BMPs are, that's like in a storm sewer catch basin. Some of them have what we call a sump. So the water will drop in and it'll deposit the sediment in that structure before it goes directly into a creek. So then Chad will inspect that every year. And then if he has to vacuum out the sediment, then he knows he has to do that based on his inspection. So, and then obviously, there are 4 residential developments that were occurring, as well as 3 commercial developments. So the city helped to ensure that the developer was inspecting those. We got copies of their inspection reports, whenever they did those inspections, to make sure that they were holding up their end of the program with the construction site management. So plans for 2021 this year. So as I mentioned, we already submitted our annual report to the MPCA. Chad and I began to talk about how we're going to implement maintenance of our ponds. So we're thinking about brush maintenance, tree maintenance, mowing of the ponds. That's something that him and I are planning to talk about, how we want to approach that going forward. Obviously, we'll continue to inspect our stormwater infrastructure and refine our documentation methods. The big one here is the MS4 general permit reissuance. So that's something that we've already submitted for. This is something that doesn't come up every year, but the MPCA updates the permit in general every handful of years. So I think the last time this was done in 2013. So they issued a new permit that we need to abide by starting next year. So we've already submitted it. They're still reviewing it. They're a little behind with things, so we haven't heard from them, but that's in the queue to happen. And once we get our new permit, we'll have to make some updates to the SWIP, so that the actual stormwater pollution prevention program within that. And we'll finalize that by the fall. I have a typo here, fall of 2022. So by next fall, we'll have 1 year to make all the updates based on their comments to our permit. So that's a typo. So this is kind of a lot here, but I just wanted to touch on a few of the new requirements. They are putting some new requirements on reconstructed impervious surface in addition to just the new impervious as it relates to water quality treatment. So there'll be some new rules with that. They're going to require some more focused education distributions on at least 2 materials a year. And as I pointed out there, it would be illicit discharge, de-icing salts, and pet waste. So we'll have to pick 2 of those and how we want to be explicit in how we broadcast to the residents. Maintain an inventory of private facilities with de-icing salts and educational materials. So targeting like commercial properties and just educating them on the use of de-icing salts, because a lot of times they over apply. It's a pretty common thing. You don't need to use as much as what a lot of people do. So, and then some regulatory mechanisms for salt storage, and then pet waste is also something that's probably going to come up again. So we don't make these rules, but we have to follow them. So it's just the way it is. We have to abide by it, and we'll see what they come back with. And we'll have to just take it one step at a time. So future program needs, like I said, we expect to hear back from them in probably September or October at this point, and then we'll be doing the new permit over the next year. And then I touched on also, Chad and I are thinking about pond assessments as well. A lot of our ponds are starting to get old. It's probably time that we think about taking a look at them and seeing how much life they have left in them before we have to do some maintenance to them. So we are thinking about how we want to approach that as well. And that is the end of my presentation. So,
questions, comments? I just have one quick question. You mentioned the public education and outreach a couple of times. What does that look like? Is that a newsletter article? Is that a public meeting?
So the public participation, so number one, I should have mentioned that. This public meeting that is one of the things a public meeting fulfills that. There are also some materials that I believe you put in your billings, utility bills. I think we also partner with the CCWMO on some of their stuff that they put out. Maybe we've referenced that on our website. I've seen in the past, so.
I have one, I'm sorry.
You know what, I'm sorry, I
Go ahead.
messed up, so let me, sorry. Let's see, are there any public comments? After all public comments are received, if there are any, the public hearing will be closed. No further comments on the issue will be received at this meeting. So this is the opportunity for public comments. Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Give that one to Councilmember McKnight.
Second.
And a second by Councilmember Henry. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's just fine. When, on the new MS4 permit requirements page, the second one where we talk about doing the education distribution, is it 2 of the 3 we have to choose? It says each calendar year. Is this rotating? I mean, do they change out what a topic is from year to year?
I'm not sure of that specifically. I interpreted that as we could select 2 topics that we wanted to focus on a
Right.
given year.
But it says each calendar year, so I'm
We'll probably have to
but I mean, do
rotate
they
them.
have different ones that come in, like pet waste will drop off and something else? Or is these are the 3 that just kind of are in their documents and they're pretty stagnant?
This is the stuff that we've seen to date, the ones that are gonna be included that we can choose from. So it's kind of this, there's been, they've taken a long time to get to this new permit, and we're all, anticipating what's gonna be the final, permit that's gonna come out, but that's what we know right now.
Okay.
Just to clarify that issue a bit, so the topics they select, but we'll write the articles?
Yeah.
Or, like, for example, if we put out a posting for, please pick up after your pet, that counts, towards that. So we'll rotate either social media postings or articles in our own newsletter, but we create the content. They just choose the subjects that we can.
Yeah, I was just
use.
curious if we knew whether the subjects change over time. To kind of a hot topic comes through and then that's the next one, but it's fine.
Any other questions?
Chad, how are all the holding ponds looking right now?
Can you repeat the question, please?
How are the holding ponds looking right now?
Well, there's a couple different avenues that you can look at them. One, you can look at them from the land around the ponds, which we've been increasing our pond mowing plan to date this year. The second, which is a little bit more challenging to assess, is the sediment in the pond. So as far as we know, they're fully functional. Aaron and I are working on a plan to assess how much sediment is in there from the design construction plans.
Okay, because I know that in Lake Elmo, one of our projects, it was a very expensive endeavor to clean out one of the sediment ponds, so.
Yeah, it can be, especially if you don't have decent access. So it's important that when we do developments, that's one of the big things we look at, is making sure we have access to our outlots, that we can get down to them in the future. So I can't speak to what's been done, 10 years ago, but,
Moving forward,
as
things trickle down.
Yep.
Missed that one.
Right.
I get it.
We just didn't think it was funny.
I giggled.
Okay,
I
have a
giggled
couple
when
other
Eric said
questions.
it.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. On the plans for 2021 about the communication of trees and brush maintenance adjacent to the ponds, are homeowners or residents nearby responsible for any of that maintenance, or is that all by the city?
That's by the city.
By the city. So when you talk about communication and process, you're going to need access, you're going to be potentially mowing or taking down trees or brush or whatever. So it's about communicating with nearby residents.
Yeah.
That's the goal, about that impact.
It's a big communication plan for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that helps clarify that. And then, any of these MS4 permit requirements, do any of them have an ordinance impact whatsoever? That we need to update any ordinance?
Good question. I believe that the ones that dealt with having a regulatory mechanism, so the salt storage and the pet waste could have an ordinance impact.
Okay, So we'll be looking at that as we.
Yeah, we'll be,
complete the
yeah,
updated.
over the next year, we'll probably come back with something,
Okay,
yep.
all right, thank you. Those were my questions.
All right. If there's nothing else, we can move on. All right. Thank you, Erin. We give you a hard time, but I
Welcome.
appreciate the presentation.
Thanks.
We are up next to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Henry, and I will make a second, so second by Mayor Johnson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right.
Mayor Johnson, I have a question for Chad Shell about 710. It doesn't have anything to do with the approval, it's just a question for. 710 is for the sidewalk repair project.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure that that is not going to coincide with Steamboat Days and that it happens after.
See a theme here.
It will happen after.
Okay, that is all I needed to know, and you're on record saying that, so thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, up next, item 8.1, the cemetery rules and regulations. Ms. Hans-Eiden.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. If you remember back on July 16th at the work session, which got moved to the regular meeting, we did talk about the rules and regulations for the cemetery. At that time, we had indicated that staff had looked at the current ordinance as it related to the cemetery and noted that we really needed to have a better way to run the operation for that cemetery. So we looked at preparing a document called Rules and Regulations, and we took several things into consideration when we were doing that. We wanted to look at the maintenance of the cemetery, look at fairness to the users, look at long-term continuity, standardizing cemetery operations for everyone, providing for the cost and maintenance, taking a look at some reasonable restrictions, protection of the cemetery grounds, and then last but not least, we wanted to do this so that it would be easier to make changes to these rules and regulations rather than, as you mentioned earlier, asking about an ordinance change is a lot more involved in making an ordinance change. And by doing this, it'll allow us to be more flexible with those items. So tonight, what we are asking you to in order to make this happen, we have to have three things here. If you remember back on July 16th in the packet, there were actually two ordinances. I did work with City Attorney Anderson, and we combined those two ordinances, so you will only see one ordinance in your packet tonight. And what we did in that ordinance, we did take a look at contradictions, duplications, and so on. And then we're also adding that section 37 so we can have the rules and regulations available for us. So we'd be looking at you adopting that ordinance, and then there are two resolutions also in your packet. The 13321 actually gives us the ability to use those rules and regulations as we go forward. And then the last resolution, which is something new, is we are asking you to actually authorize a summary publication of the ordinance. That is something that we've always done in the past to save cost and publicize it in the newspaper, but now going forward, we will be asking you to actually authorize that summary. So I guess I would open it up to any questions. If you have any questions, last but not least, I want to also mention that at the work session, there was a comment made about the limiting of the upright monuments in certain sections of the cemetery, and we have changed that particular section. So the only change to those rules and regulations from the last time you saw it omits that. So what that means is upright and flat monuments can be in any section of the cemetery. There are no limitations. And I know that that was something that the council was concerned about, so.
Any questions for Vicki?
No.
All right, then we've got a bunch of motions to work through.
I'll start.
Go.
All right. I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 06-2021, amending Chapter 12 of the Carver City Code relating to cemeteries.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Mock,
I'll second.
a second by Councilmember McKnight. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that one passes.
April?
All right. I would like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 133-21, adopting rules and regulations relating to the operation of Mount Hope Cemetery.
A motion by Councilmember Mock.
I'll second.
And I was anticipating a second by Councilmember McKnight. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Shall I continue?
Yes.
You're on a roll.
Not
Okay.
gonna stop you.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 135-21, authorizing summary of publication, excuse me, of ordinance 06-2021.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Mock, and once again, a second by Councilmember McKnight. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to communications, 9.1, the Great River Greening Grant. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm going to give an update on a grant that we applied for with Great River Greening, which is a nonprofit out of St. Paul. It feels like forever ago, but in April 2020, the council saw a letter of support to enter into a pool of grant money from the Outdoor Heritage Fund and the Environment and Natural Resource Trust Fund. Great River Greening is one of those, they send an email blast typically to cities to say, like, we have grant funding available, let us know the projects that you're working on. We bite at those sometimes, but there's sometimes pie in the sky projects. But Creekside, they were able to say that our project fit a lot of what they were working on. So over the past couple weeks, we have received word that from the Outdoor Heritage Fund, the Creekside Park with Great River Greening received $294,000. And then from the Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund, just over $68,000. So in total, just over $362,000 in grant money for Creekside Park. So what that means, they typically will do things like stream stabilization, which is important in that area, something that we've been talking about a lot, but generally we don't know that much about at a staff level. But they're able to hire engineers to create a plan and then execute that work through the grant. There's also a portion of the grant for removal of invasive species. So staff from Great River Greening went out there, they did a site visit to see what was there, what they would like to do for the project, and then seedings and plantings is another large component. I spoke with Great River Greening staff recently, just saying that Creekside wasn't on our radar right now, but it will be eventually. It's adopted in our Parks Master Plan, and they were comfortable that since we have that adopted plan, they're comfortable putting in the work at this point. It's a 3 to 5 year grant, so work won't start probably for a couple more years, just based on the timing of when we think Creekside will develop. As part of the $362,000 grant, there's a city contribution of $30,000, so the grant match is $30,000. We also had in the grant application that there would be opportunity for some public volunteer work there, so if people wanted to help out with the stabilization or plantings, that's something we would love to have as a community event. So at this point, the next steps, I'm anticipating a grant agreement or partnership agreement will be before the council this fall, entering into an agreement with Great River Greening to execute some of this project. Continue to give updates on that community event if we can keep moving. But 3 to 5 years, we'll be thinking about some work being done in Creekside.
Very cool. Aaron, for the $30,000 match, that would come from Park Dead?
Yes.
Does it need to coincide with park development?
It does not.
So it could be done separate?
Yes. That was a big question of mine too, just knowing some of the priorities with the downtown park versus Creekside.
Yeah.
But they were comfortable saying that since we have the plan adopted and it's a city property already,
okay,
they're comfortable with that work.
Gotcha. And so we could do that restoration. I mean, that would be beneficial anyway in the shorter term.
It would.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Aaron, we have talked with the Park Master Plan about the entrance to that park. Does this have anything to do with the fact that we may need a different entrance and a bridge and that kind of thing to get in there?
We've talked about it. I mentioned it to the staff, and they said that the work wouldn't change just because the creek, when they went out and saw it, it sounds really nerdy, but they got kind of excited that they could identify a creek that needed as much help as this one does. So we mentioned it, but they said they would need to do that work anyways to get a bridge across.
Okay, great. Nice work.
Thanks.
That this creek needed as much help as it does.
I know.
To that end, will $390,000 get us all the work done that needs to be done?
I think it could, just based on the scope of work that was included. It makes me believe with kind of an untrained eye for this project that there will be significant improvement at least.
Okay.
Does that just run for the park, or how far down does that run?
Just the city property at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, it's fantastic.
Thank you. Really good work. Thanks. Super exciting. Thank you. 9.2, Information Technologies Update. This sounds item.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. If you remember thinking back to the strategic plan, we had an item on there that indicated we were to develop a needs assessment and strategy for information technology support. So I wanted to provide an update on where we are at with that. We have collaborated with Marco, which is our current service provider. And what we did soon after we had identified this item on the strategic plan was to set up meetings with Marco to talk about what could we do to improve what we currently have with our contract, where are those gaps, and then what can we do to fill those gaps in. Some of the things that we talked about in our new contract had to do with improving the overall just managed desktop and network support. They have added, and we are going to start doing monthly meetings with the desktop supervisor. What that means is we will talk about what issues have come up, are we satisfied with the resolution, what can we do to improve that. We talked about standardizing equipment. Right now, what happens is people tend to order different things, and we've ended up with some situations where people maybe didn't have like Windows 10 Pro, so we ended up having to get some new software, and it just took a lot longer to get that new user's computer set up. So we think we filled that gap as well. We've also talked about and also already made some improvements in documentation for support, certain things that we know that we deal with that have come up, some known issues, and they have a care team that is dedicated to the city of Carver, and they continue to work on improving that documentation for quicker resolution. The last thing, the project-based support, I know that in the past we've had a few projects that we've added over and above our existing contract, and we are going to continue to do that and maybe do that even more so. What had happened in the past is we tend to treat an issue that comes up and then try to fix that and manage it that way. And we talked about maybe doing that more project-based, where we would get a person assigned to that and help us work through that. So by doing that, we think we can just be more efficient with our support from Marco. The last thing, and I think sometimes maybe can be the most important thing, has to do with the enhancement of the security. All of us can probably think of a company that we've heard on the news where they've had, their network hacked, or I even am aware of some cities who couldn't even get into any of their files or their email or anything for days just because they had their system hacked. And even some of those cities had their own IT support people. So no one is really, immune from that. So you have to be really, really careful. And Marco is really taking a look at that and taking that very seriously, and they're going to be moving us to even a more secure platform. And what that'll do is really enhance that and also increase the remote monitoring. We had talked to them, some staff members felt like maybe we should schedule some on-site visits or maybe prepay some dollars so we had some of that available if we had issues come up. And to Marco's credit, they said, you know what, we really don't need to do that. We feel that we can handle these issues remotely, and also behind the scenes, constantly they are monitoring what is going on with our system. And Chad Shell, the Public Services Director, and myself, we meet with Marco once a month, and we go over all kinds of different things. How are the individual computers operating? Do we have computers that we are no longer using, and so on? And we spend a lot of time just working with them, making sure that they have all of the information, they're monitoring the correct things. One of the other things that's really nice is we also have unlimited storage, and they monitor all of that, and it's a very secure network. The last thing, which will probably involve some of the council as well, is we're going to do some training for users. And I know that I've received emails from some of you and phone calls. I got this really suspicious looking email. Is this legitimate? Courtney Johnson needs some money for something or whatever. And we don't really know. It looks.
I text when I need money.
And they're getting so tricky. They look so real. And some cities have actually fallen for these and ended up spending a lot of money or gave away information that they should not have. So part of what Marco's going to do is we're going to do some training on that, and then there'll actually be some testing to see where we have gaps again, what do users not know to look for, and so on. So I think that that'll also improve what we do here. So that being said, I just would ask if you have any questions about that, but it does tie back to that strategic plan item. So I'd like to put a big green check mark on that.
Well, thank you for following up, and because you referenced it with those phishing emails, I understand that that's not necessarily a system problem, and that's a third party, but will there be additional layers? Can we get closer to saying there will never be a email from Mayor Courtney Johnson asking everybody I've ever sent an email to for money?
I would say in talking with Marco, what happens is even though they have the best antivirus software and they also try to block some of that, the people on the other side are getting more and more sophisticated. And unfortunately, we probably, I don't know what the future will hold, but I would say, unfortunately, we probably will continue to see that. Our best level of protection is to train people to know what to look for. Behind the scenes, Marco does monitor that, so you don't see everything that comes through. They are able to block some, but unfortunately, some do get through.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Vicki?
Nope.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for
Good,
following
thank
up
you.
on that. And
You're
let's
welcome.
put a big green check mark in there. Brent, any updates?
Just a few. I just wanted to kind of formally and publicly welcome Dave Anderson as the city's new city attorney. So it's his first official meeting. And then also provide the council with an update on the 2020 census. So it's a little complex this year in that there's a number given out, but there's some of our population under the official census, which is actually population in Dahlgren Township. So the Met Council has gone through an exercise to kind of segment that part off. So they're working to kind of verify it, but right now our unofficial new population would be 5,241. They'll have a verification document to us by the end of the week. Most importantly, we're officially have a document that we can get to the state aid office so we can get state aid money for transportation. We had a meeting last week with their administration, and so Aaron Schmidt and Dan Lanas will be working on helping us navigate that new program and the requirements of that. But very exciting news for our community. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Brent, does that number represent the adjusted number that they're expecting for the population, or is that the one that came through just the census without?
Yep, that's the adjusted number. The official census, which includes some Dahlgren population, was right around 5,800.
Oh, okay.
And we'll expect, and again, doesn't include a lot of the building permits that we've recently had. So expect that to go up in the following years. But this is the 5,241 is the adjusted number.
Okay. Thanks.
It might, I talked to their demographer from the Met Council over a series of emails, and they're still kind of double and triple checking their math. So it might adjust slightly, but he said they'd have an email going out later this week to followed by some official correspondence by U.S. mail. So
Will that be the number that goes on our sign?
it will be. But I'm waiting. I know the Jonathan Carver contractor is looking to get that number so they can get that on the signs. But if we can squeak out a few more, we're going to wait and see what the Met Council says.
Okay.
Joy, any updates?
Nope, I have nothing.
Christy?
I think we all know Steamboat Days is coming.
Surprised you didn't mention it earlier tonight.
Yeah. So I don't really know what else to say. I say it at every meeting, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so September 10 through 12. We've got a couple of new events going on. So we have the Wild West show that's on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, which is a family-friendly show that will be right here downtown. So we have that going. We do have the Zura little car riders coming to the parade, so they'll be zipping around the parade route in their little red cars. Fireworks as usual, bands as usual. Our food trucks are full this year. We actually had to cut that off, and otherwise everything is, we're just kind of going status quo since we missed a year, but that's all I have for that. And we did have an HPC meeting. We did have an HPC meeting on Tuesday, and everything was approved as came in, and it's good.
Are you still looking for volunteers? And if so, how do folks sign up to do that?
The steamboating email is on the website, which is carversteamboatdays.info, so you can always go there, and then that email comes to me. So as we find things, we will certainly be able to match you up with some task.
I hear you say sanitation and security is what you're looking for help with.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I know a guy who's got some experience. All right, Glenn.
We have a planning commission meeting tomorrow, Thursday night. We're gonna go over the preserve. So, other than that, not too much else. I just want to thank Tom Ryan for his years of service. It's been a good run. Tom's a good friend, and he'll be missed, but he'll always be around the community sometime. So, anyways, nice seeing him tonight.
Thank you. Let's see, my updates, since we last met for an official meeting, and gave updates. Night to Unite was pretty successful. I was able to ride around with Carver Fire, and got to visit 4 parties, so it was fun visiting with folks. As Commissioner Fahey kind of teed up last Wednesday, Congressman Emmer was out here, and it was really good to connect with him and to have just kind of more of a conversation about the levee project. And he seemed very, very, very supportive and kind of gave us some tips and follow-up items. So, and then there was a community leaders meeting last Friday, and that's the group that's the city manager and the mayors from all of the communities in the school district, along with Carver County commissioners and the sheriff's office. And they teed up their presentation that they're going to come to all of the communities for the referendum, and they let us kind of give them their feedback. So they were kind of testing out their presentation on us. So it was good, and there's some need there. So looking forward to the referendum efforts this fall. That is it for me. If there isn't anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Councilmember Henry.
A second.
And a second by Councilmember McKnight. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you.